everybody. This is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
And on this week's show, we don't really have a plan. It's not that we've missed movies, but
due to circumstances beyond our control, we haven't been able to sit down and do a proper show in a while. So we're just going to catch up with everything we can think of in one big extravaganza.
Yeah, let's just do it. I'm so regretful of it because we wanted to record last Thursday, then last Friday, then on Saturday, then on Sunday, and all this life stuff kept getting in the way. And it was stuff's being done at my apartment. I've got appointments. John's got things going on. We were going to record what happened to you yesterday.
The power goes out.
The power goes out because some tree or something fell down.
All that wind. Whatever. We're back.
So God was conspiring against us.
Yeah.
Numerous
God
occasions.
subscribe.
And so we kind of got screwed on Wall Street. We were all set to talk about Wall Street,
That's only because we went to see it. I mean, is it still in theaters? Didn't it leave already?
No, it's still in theaters. And come to think of it, we haven't even talked about Social Network. So
that opened
we just
this
got
weekend.
Wall
Street was 2 weeks ago. At least the Social Network opened this week, so that's current.
See, your audio is fuzzy again for some reason. I don't know.
I don't know what I'm doing.
I wonder. It could be on my end, but let's just go with it. So, Disclaimer here, everybody. I don't know how to fix John's audio situation. So if anything happens,
if I sound busy.
Yeah, you sound great there. Absolutely, totally great.
All right, let's go movies. All right, you started off. What do you want to talk about? Let's pick one you want to talk about.
I think we were geared on the first thing our plan was after what was the last show we did that we actually talked about a movie apart from the Howell interview? It was The Town.
I don't know.
Was it The Town?
The Town? Yeah.
So we were kind of geared our next show is going to be Wall Street.
Yeah.
Money Never Sleeps, because we saw that I don't know how long ago. And the first thing that's coming to my mind is it is just too damn long. That movie should have been
good.
It was so lackluster.
And what was the point? I mean, besides Oliver Stone thinking he's, important. What was the point of the movie? I mean, it's just all the dialogue sounded like it was just ripped from yesterday's headlines. It was just really.
Well, I'll just throw this out there. It's about updating everything that's happened since the late 80s.
And do you think the film did that?
And financially, and well, it sure did take a great amount of time to do it, but sure it did. But one thing that did happen was Gordon Gekko is no longer a shark. He's just tame, prison tamed him. He's untrustworthy still, but
he's a dick. He's just a dick in the first movie. He's a dick in this movie.
Not as sharp as he was before. Maybe that goes with Michael Douglas's age. I don't know. And I
think it goes with. I think it's more Oliver Stone's age and his quickly debilitating talents, or I don't know. The older he gets, the worse he gets as a filmmaker, I think.
Really?
I don't think he. I just sat through that documentary he did, South of the Border.
I saw it last night with over at the Brattle. Yeah.
What did you think?
It's propaganda.
No shit.
It's clear.
And what the hell makes
really
him
unbalanced?
What makes him an authority on South American and global politics?
Right.
The fact that he goes there and has these ridiculous scenes of let's play. I want to kick the soccer ball around with you. I want to take a picture of Chavez riding a bike.
Never would have been able to get that access had he portrayed them in a bad light.
If he had, what was it, Salvador? That movie he made about, back when he was an angry
James Woods in the mid '80s. Yeah.
Back when he was an angry and a good filmmaker. Now
using the Robert Mayer Burnett philosophy, Oliver Stone has stopped fucking, perhaps.
The what?
If you're a good filmmaker, you continue to fuck. That's his philosophy. I explained it in Robert Mayer Burnett. He directed Free Enterprise. He's a great and very knowledgeable fan of movies. I greatly respect his knowledge. One of his theories is that as you grow older as a filmmaker, some become homebodies like George Lucas or like Ron Howard, or maybe Ron Howard always has been, but or Joe Dante, whom I love, but you graduating from The Howling, and then going on to movies like Explorers, going from Piranha and The Howling to Explorers and Looney Tunes, the movie. I mean, that's an example of having stopped fucking. So, according to Robert, and I've explained this before because he's written about it, Martin Scorsese still fucks. Stanley Kubrick always did. Oliver Stone, we're making the point here that he's softened up. That's what you're saying.
I just wasn't as graphic as you, I guess. We're going to have to put it this
Yeah, it is.
Kids.
Jarring to say that.
No, it's okay. It's the internet. You can say anything on it.
My nephews don't listen to this podcast. So.
Not anymore. They won't even talk to Uncle Steve.
I wish my sister would mention it to him, but she doesn't. She knows that there's explicit language on this podcast, and so.
Well, anyway, I think
that. Anyway, okay, this is way off base. Wall
Street and South of the Border are proof that maybe Oliver Stone is soft in that respect. Mm-hmm. They were just both limp movies.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Why is Shia LaBeouf, or however you pronounce his last name, LeBeau,
Beef,
a star?
I don't know.
How
Luck?
Is this? What?
Luck?
Where does this come from?
I have no idea. I look at his doppelganger, G. Gordon Levitt, who was it G. Gordon? No, what's his name? Gordon Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is like Shia's doppelganger. They kind of look alike. They're kind of the same generation, but Gordon-Levitt makes interesting, challenging movies, and the other guy is just he's a celebrity. He's not a real good actor,
He can strangely, this Shia LaBeouf guy, he can carry a part, but I don't believe him, and never have for a second, and yet he has this just star-studded career. And I think he's just a guy that producers cast because they like him. Producers like him, and possibly they see themselves in him.
I know that I used to work with a woman who had his face as her screensaver, so I understand he's got that attraction going for him.
The plus aspect of this film is Carey Mulligan. She's always she's very childlike looking, but she's just waif-like. Fascinating. Yeah, she's waif-like, but she's elegant and fascinating, and she's the heart of this film.
She's the only one who even seems alive in this film.
Yeah.
But did you see also in theaters now is Never Let Me Go?
Haven't seen it.
It's a science fiction movie about a future where people are cloned and raised just to be organ donors. It's so this movie Never Let Me Go. It's Carey Mulligan, it's Keira Knightley, and it's the young guy who's going to be the new Spider-Man. What's his name? Andrew Garfield.
Social Network.
Right. And they play three young clones who are growing up to become, they know that's their role in life. They're going to be organ donors. And Carey Mulligan, it's a completely different role in Wall Street. She has long hair, which is nice to see. It's just good to see the two together. I think Never Let Me Go is a much better movie.
I haven't seen it. I'm very curious about it. All right.
Anyway, do we really need to talk more about Wall Street, or it's
frankly, I don't really want to.
All right,
and but I think listeners should know that
it sucks.
I wouldn't say it sucks. I found some very entertaining parts of this film. I liked the cameo. I liked a lot of great directors make great transitions from scene to scene, and there's some really cool transitions in this film. But it's just
none of it has to do with the story or anything.
Not a tight movie.
No.
But would you spend $10 on it? No. I can't recommend it.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't get the DVD. I wouldn't watch it again. No reason to.
Yeah. Well, I am looking forward to it. You want to do Social Network?
Yes, because you were such a happy boy when that movie was over. You were walking out pumping your fist and talking about how positive a message it was given for people and what great and likable characters they were. I remember your reaction.
Well, the fellow we were talking with, I forget his name. He has a movie review show on YouTube, and I'm sorry I forget his name, but he had said that David Fincher makes movies about despicable people. And I can't disagree with that. And this movie has some despicable, unlikable 20-somethings. And what worries me, and I probably shouldn't be caring about this, is that when 20-somethings see this is so stupid. I know it sounds so stupid, but this is the kind of activity that they are going to emulate, to want to, be jealous of, to, this is how they may act. And I know that they're smarter than this, but still at the same time.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
They'll see what goes on here and they'll be like, yeah, that's my dream life, man.
For a lot of people
it
is.
A smart and yet socially inept asshole.
And make $1 billion.
Yeah. And be rewarded for it. Just like the Napster guy and
well, he was, to be fair, Steve, he was rewarded for building the Facebook. He wrote the programming for it and all this. He is.
They have their millions,
if not a real asshole, but he's not just getting billions because he is an asshole. He made this. He's an asshole, but he also did this.
He did. And you know what? And he was very perceptive about what people want and how an internet experience is supposed to be fun and how people need to be connected. And these are all basic human wants, and he tapped into it. And that kind of makes me angry at him. Because it's so great. I mean, what's great about a blog or anything, or even listening to this podcast? If this wasn't in any way fun, why would anybody want to listen to it? I mean, it's got to be entertaining in some way, right? So Facebook is constantly entertaining.
Right. But did you think the movie? Now, we should tell people that he we're talking about is this Mark Zuckerberg, and he's the guy who, quote unquote, invented Facebook. And then the movie talks about.
You've got like 1 minute before our audio thing cuts out.
Okay.
All right,
fine.
I just interrupted you. All right.
No.
Go for it.
We should.
Go for it. You've got 1 minute. Go.
It's a movie about Mark Zuckerberg, the guy who, quote unquote, invented Facebook, and then the legal wranglings that happen because there's these other horrid guys who think it's their intellectual property. There's another guy named Eduardo Saverin who was the first business manager, and then there's the fabulous Sean Parker, played by Justin Timberlake, the guy from Napster who takes it all, or tries to take it all, or is like the Snidely Whiplash of this internet world.
John, awesome, you did it.
All
right. Yes. Okay, now let's. I got to press stop here, and we'll get back.
I only need a minute. Now, are we not taping or taping?
No, we're good. We're recording.
Well, here's the thing. I know
one more guy to the cast who was terrific was Armie Hammer.
Oh yes, who plays
Blew my mind. I had no idea, and I had just finished watching the whole Back to the Future trilogy. With Michael J. Fox playing 3-4 roles on the same, in the same shot. Right. I had no idea. That's how in the dark I was about this film. It was imperceptible to me. Didn't even think about it. I thought they got some twins.
No, and Armie Hammer came in for interviews, and we asked him how he did it, and part of it was that old-fashioned thing where he shot a scene, changed clothes, and then reshot the scene with another actor sitting there. Sometimes the other actor, they just put Armie's face on him using computers. It
was seamless to me.
Yeah.
But now maybe watching it a second time, I'll be looking for any threats.
Did you actually go see this a second time?
I don't think I'll see it in the theaters, but I think I'll get it on DVD.
The thing was, I know you felt pretty strongly about what assholes these guys were, but I walked out of there feeling absolutely nothing. I didn't learn, I learned a little bit about how Facebook was formed. I sat through 2 hours of not likable characters, but the story meant nothing to me.
It's a cold, hard movie, and maybe it can be broken up by Trent Reznor's score, which is cool, and some of the photography. Boy, that scene where they were doing the crew in London scene. Base was terrifically photographed. I forget the name of the process, but it made everything look like little miniatures, like HO train set stuff.
Right.
It was cool.
Fincher makes, he's a really good visual filmmaker, and I think Aaron Sorkin wrote a great script, but there was something just like you said, cold about this movie that I just never. It's not even that I didn't warm up to it. I wasn't interested in it.
Well, John, everything about this is cold and calculating because the characters are cold and calculating. And I think that sums up Mark Zuckerberg because there's that terrific scene where I think, okay, what I remember reading in the press notes or something was that lots of this film was taken,
From the
transcripts.
Right.
So when the attorney is talking to Mark Zuckerberg and Zuckerberg's looking out the window and he says, do I have your attention? Can I emphasize this again? Something like, do I have your attention? He says, you have the minimal amount of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you can tell that in his mind, he's calculating how much attention how much bandwidth he wants to give this lawyer talking to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not care about it. This is social intelligence. And ironically, there's this lack of it. Harvard, to me, it represents intellectual intelligence, and it's in the elite area there. But as far as social intelligence, exemplified by Mark Zuckerberg, he knows what people want. What people want in terms of wanting to be in the elite clubs and wanting to be included and wanting to be loved and liked. That's primary human stuff. But here, in his personal life, he is lacking in the actual act of social intelligence.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He lacks a physical intelligence in order to, complement his quote unquote social intelligence, if that makes sense.
Sort of. But yeah,
because he doesn't like the way he communicates with his girlfriend at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
If he were having like this conversation with someone, it may not be the nicest experience in the world because he's going to be singularly trying to do something or manipulative, whatever it does, whatever the example, he's making the other person he's talking with uncomfortable. He's not bringing himself outside of himself to find concern or, whatever it is that makes somebody else comfortable when they're talking to you. It's lacking. There's something lacking.
Oh, there's a lot.
Fincher does a great job there in these, or I guess one would credit Aaron Sorkin for writing the script of Ben Mesrick's novel. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Right.
Accidental Billionaires. This may get a screenwriting nod at the Oscars this year.
Do we want to keep beating up Social Network or just?
Well, you were in the middle of making a point about it, and if you want to get back to it, sorry.
No. The best thing about this movie, I think you just mentioned it, was the soundtrack by Trent Reznor, and who was it?
As far as I recall, just Trent Reznor.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They had it on sale at Amazon.com for $2.99 to download, and I downloaded it, and it's really good. I'm not a huge Trent Reznor fan, but I remember liking the music more than the movie, and that never happens. I know you guys are always talking about composers and scores and all this.
Oh, I love it. That was
never
a huge
even
part of my
hit
life
me.
in the 80s, 90s was collecting movie scores.
But this is worth listening to.
Did Trent Reznor have anything to do with the scoring of Seven? Because I think the score to Seven was somewhat inspired by sort of a Nine Inch Nails sound. So whatever that relationship is there, I think it could be just ironic that he's now working directly in Fincher's film.
And I just finished. Remember you lent me the Blu-ray of Fight Club, and I just finished that, and that's the Dust Brothers.
Yeah.
And they're the same kind of heavy industrial dance music stuff. So let's move on to a different movie. Now, did you see Let Me In, Let Him In?
Loved it.
Loved
it.
Here's what we're going to do. You do Let Me In, and I'll do Hatchet 2. Two
go
horror
for
movies.
It. Yeah, that's what I was
Hatchet
thinking
2,
about. But I hadn't seen it.
All right, so Let Me In. Tell me about it, because I'm a big fan of the original, the Danish, Dutch, whatever it was.
Swedish.
Neander.
John, how dare you?
What?
Swedish.
Dutch, something.
Put the right one in. Good God,
Yeah.
John.
Well, it's like,
my discriminating taste in films is I'm insulted.
Yeah.
All right.
It was based on a foreign
film
film.
with
They're all the
subtitles,
same
John.
to me. Yeah, foreign film with subtitles. Doesn't matter what country it's from. It's all the same.
Beautiful movie. This movie, Let Me In, I think had a lot going against it.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt Reeves, I want to say that possibly there was like this level he had to reach in order to obtain the something that wouldn't detract from the original for those who saw the original. And he did it. It's not a perfect film. I mean, I have certain, things that I disagree with, in terms of the casting, but he really did a great job. And I thought, man, this is like the coolest movie around right now. I just so loved it. And I loved that he kept it in that zone of 1983. And you know me, I went on about his choices of music and particularly the use of Ferrer's Doot Doot, which is, for me, it's a seminal song. I so loved it in the mid 80s, and it was like a private song to me because nobody really knew about Ferrer. And, but boy, they sure did put it to good use in one of my favorite scenes. And, having been a fan of the original, we knew it was coming. And yet, this was very tense, and there were enough different things to make it really engrossing for people who were fans of the original. I loved every minute of this film.
Give people a quick rundown about what the story's about.
Well, it's about this kid who lives in a housing complex in New Mexico. Now, must be in the mountains of New Mexico or northern New Mexico because it snows. And he is just basically the butt of everyone's jokes at school. He's getting some serious, some serious pummeling from bullies. And, so going to school, he's isolated, and school is kind of a frightening situation for him. And so he doesn't have many friends. He lives with his mom in this housing complex, and there is a new neighbor who moves in next door. They share a wall. This girl, 12 years old or so, played by Chloe Moretz from Kick-Ass, who was Kick-Ass in Kick-Ass, and her father, played by what's his name? Richard Jenkins. But as we watch this film, we come to learn that she is very different. Just absurd. I mean, it's obvious to us, that she's a vampire, but the way this is slowly revealed to the kid's name, let me look it up here real quick. Cody Smith-McPhee, who plays Owen, that she's, super strange. I don't know if he believes in vampires, at the beginning of this film, obviously, but he is so open to wanting to connect with this girl that they form a relationship, and even when he finds out that she's a vampire, it's in no way startling to him, because they're in some sort of weird way supporting each other. And so they develop this relationship wherein she helps him build confidence, and he, along with her, they just connect. They're able to form an interpersonal bond that actually they really enjoy hanging out with each other. But in the scenes where you get to see these little reveals about her being a vampire, like when she attacks or when she walks into a room, what happens to a vampire, or how she relates to this fella played by Richard Jenkins, who's actually not her father, but does this work in order to get her the blood she needs. It's creepy and effective, and the mood that Matt Reeves establishes is just terrific. It's an exceptionally cool film. It doesn't detract from the original. It just broadens, I think, to the wider market what is just truly a terrific story. So it's really on the up and up. I would have maybe not gone with Chloe Moretz's blonde hair. I was thinking, I wasn't so sure that she was the right person cast for this, because what was so terrific about the girl who played the vampire in the original is she had these eyes that were just so vulnerable, and she had this sort of gypsy quality to her, and she was dark with black hair and just sort of menacing, amusingly menacing. And so maybe Chloe Moretz doesn't have that quality. She had this character is the same tone, but it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess the girl in the other one is just that's the great vampire performance. Chloe Moretz is terrific. I possibly would have cast differently, or I would have just had, as a directorial decision, given her, black hair or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe they tried that. But apart from everything, Terrific film.
I'm going to go on the opposite end of the scale. There's nothing even remotely pretty about Hatchet 2, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's old school horror movie, like from the 80s. Where the killer is this guy and he's a deformed. Well, it picks up, of course, where if anyone saw Hatchet, it picks up right at the end of Hatchet. Victor Crowley, the Bayou Butcher, is in the swamps killing people. The girl that gets away at the end of the first movie finds out why Victor Crowley is doing all this stuff. There's some kind of the legend of Victor Crowley, like there's the legend of Jason Voorhees, there's the legend of Freddy Krueger. The thing that's interesting about this movie is that the director, and he's a local guy, Adam Green, from this area. I'm not sure.
Haverhill? I want to say Haverhill.
Haverhill? Yeah.
I guess.
He made the decision to release this movie unrated. He didn't bring it to the MPAA. He didn't want to cut out anything. He made the movie he wanted to make.
I'm sorry, Holliston. Go ahead.
All right. The great thing about this from a horror fan's perspective is that Adam Green, the director, made the decision not to bring his film to the MPAA to get a rating. He didn't want to cut anything out to make it an R, because when you see it, you realize he would have had to. Instead, he got the studio to put up a fight, and they released it unrated. So it's gory, it's funny. There are lots of insane kills in this movie. But
that's a good way to put it. And now I'm like, okay, now I want to see it.
Well, that's I interviewed Kane Hodder, who is Victor Crowley. He's the killer in this movie. And when I was talking to him about it, he said there's some great kills. And I was like, that's the perfect way to put it. There's great kills in this movie. So when someone gets killed with a belt sander, or a giant gets cut in half vertically with a chainsaw, or these people having sex who die in one of the most bizarre, gross, and yes, hilarious ways you can imagine. They don't spare the blood. They don't spare the crazy way people killed. It's not for everybody. Not everyone went to see Hatchet when it came out, but I liked Hatchet. It was fun. For horror movie fans, this is the same kind of thing. It's that throwback. It's not one of those paranormal activities, shaky camera things. It's not one of those PG-13 prom night remakes where it's these cute people who die bloodlessly off camera. This was right in your face, good action, good horror, pretty good story, pretty good dialogue, the acting, whatever. Tony Todd, who was Candyman, is in it. He plays Dr. Zombie.
There's a blast from the past.
Yeah, I know. It's funny to see him. It's like, hey, that's Candyman. So right then I'm like psyched. Kane Hodder, who was Jason in a couple of movies, and he's been around horror for a while. Adam Green did Frozen last year.
Yeah.
The guy makes good movies. I mean, again, you've got to be a fan of that kind of movie, but he does a good job. So I would highly recommend it if you're a fan of horror.
Cool. Again, the audio was breaking up, so I'm going to try. I'm going to see what I can do. I definitely want to check out Hatchet 2. In fact, I was looking for a time in the paper yesterday to go see it, and I mean, is it just playing at the Common, or I don't think it's wide release.
Yeah. No, it's not at Fenway. I think it's just at the Commons, and I get a feeling it'll be there for a week, unless horror fans. That's the thing is if horror fans really believe in this kind of movie and believe in the fact that, they released it unrated so they could show their movie, they need to go out and see it in theaters. And I think it's fun. I'd love to, when I went to the press screening, there were 5 people there, and 3 of them were from the Rock and Shock convention in Worcester, because they're bringing the girl who's in it is coming to their event. I think it's next weekend, the weekend after. So they were there to see the movie so they could interview her, but there were only 3 members of the press there.
Okay.
So anyway, we're going on to something next.
I suggested waiting for
Superman,
which plays at the Open to the Coolidge this week, and we don't have to talk a lot about it, but really quickly, it's about the sort of erosion of education for our kids these days in America due to, amongst other things, unions that won't let you fire bad teachers, and kind of startling in that manner. And they show how the system deals with this by trading bad teachers and, shuffling them from school to school, and the security cam stuff is amusing. But also it's about how to, improve your schools and the school system with these, to try to get their kids into these charter schools. And, so it's about following these 4 or 5 kids that they profile and their futures and seeing if they can get into these, charter schools, which are unfortunately, sort of having to do these, like lotteries in order to get their kids into these better schools. So it's just, as far as, talent or, desire goes, it still comes down to whether or not your number comes up when, in a, basically a lottery drawing.
Right.
And it's really heartbreaking. It's a very emotional film.
I don't think so.
I was totally taken with it. I loved it. I was totally taken with it. I loved it. I cared for these kids. I wanted them to be included the way they wanted to go to these schools. I wanted to, they do feel like, their futures are at stake here with,
right. Maybe it's because it's the third movie I've seen on this subject in the last year and a half. Maybe it's because I don't have kids. I don't really like kids.
John.
I don't like kids. I don't like children. That's not a bad thing. I like dogs and.
I like kids. I don't like them in movie theaters making noise. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. But
I was watching this and I've seen it all before in the other movies. Yes, it's Davis Guggenheim, the director of An Inconvenient Truth and
Deadwood.
It Might Get Loud. And he was a director on Deadwood too. He makes good movies, but I don't think this was balanced at all. I think it was a very one-sided argument. Yes, he's making a case that the education system sucks, but again, I felt more about the characters in Social Network than I did about these real people.
Well, I did also see a publicist sent me a copy of this other film called The Lottery, which is basically the same thing with some of the same interview subjects, but Waiting for Superman is the more entertaining of the two, and it helped me understand something I didn't know before, and it did it through animation and graphs, and probably played down to what my level of intelligence in this.
Well, you saw The Lottery
on this subject is, but
you saw The Lottery.
Really after. Drawn in by Waiting for Superman. I saw The Lottery after.
Yeah, I saw it before because I got a DVD review a few weeks before I saw Guggenheim's movie. So it's like, well, I've just seen this. There's nothing really new here. It's some of the same people. He brings in some like John Legend. I don't know what the hell he's doing in this. Besides the fact, he's a good guy and it's a good cause. But no, just didn't care. For me, a documentary has to take me into a world I know nothing about and show me this other world. And this one, I think it is because like I said, it's the third movie I've seen on how shitty the schools are.
Well, it worked for me. I was drawn in. I had the preconception that you had because I hadn't seen the other films beforehand. It was new. I was engrossed. I was fascinated by the plight of the person who was elected to change, I forget her name, the changing of the schools in Washington, D.C., and the fact that she had a plan. It was going to work. They needed to fire certain people in order to make it happen. They fired a bunch of people. The union said everybody rehired back. It's like this. And then the security camera stuff, like I mentioned, of the kids, with their cameras showing the teachers just futzing around. And these are the bad teachers.
Yeah.
A bad teacher is really, I think that's what I've taken away from this film is the true effect of a teacher who doesn't do what they're supposed to do. It's devastating to children. It really is. And the other point is that what it's become. They always say, "Oh, it's about the kids," politicians and stuff like that. But as far as the unions are portrayed, it's not about the kids. It's about having these bad teachers keep their jobs. And not all teachers are bad, obviously.
Right.
It's just that parents want to make sure that they get their kids in front of the best teachers they can. And children want it too. The kids want it too. Sure, there's kids that don't want it, but I don't think they're profiled in this movie.
No,
I found it emotionally riveting.
Okay.
And it opens at the Coolidge this week. I do recommend it. I do recommend it.
I think if you've got kids in school, or you think your school's in trouble, or you're thinking about having kids, yeah, definitely see it.
Cool. Cool.
But just from a sheer, movie entertainment thing, didn't work for me.
Cool.
All right, now what else? What else can we tear apart?
Howl. You don't want to tear about Howl, do you?
No.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
And it was
Go ahead.
Well, it's the story of Allen Ginsberg and the poem he wrote called Howl. I've seen the best minds of this generation, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, and I mentioned this when we did the interview with the directors, that I was never a big fan of the poem. I didn't know much about the poet, but this movie changed that. I know a lot more about Ginsberg, and I have a better understanding. I don't know if I like it anymore, but I have a better understanding of the way it's portrayed.
I certainly do. And I was, in fact, inspired by it. And to
Are you writing poetry now?
Sarah's got me writing poetry.
Uh-oh.
I actually, but it's about a certain type of psychological freedom, and just not.
Are you wearing a
so
beret?
much worrying about what other people are thinking of your writing, but just letting it flow. Like for me, I thought, you can, like, this is just mind garbage, man. I'm just throwing crap on the paper. But from another person's perspective, they read it and they can see tempo, and they can see, that these words sort of relate together, and there is sort of a meaning. And I'm not totally sold on it, but I just feel like, I can keep on dumping garbage onto the paper, blah, 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 blah. But my garbage was actually pretty entertaining to some other people, so that's weird.
I just interviewed Lena Dunham, the director of Tiny Furniture, which played at the Independent Film Festival of Boston. And she mentioned the same kind of thing. She wrote the script for this movie in 4 days. And I was like, how do you do that? She goes, I just vomit it all up. She said, because I can't write and be critical at the same time. She gets everything out on paper, and then she goes back and she can be critical about what she wrote. But she just gets it all on paper first. It's the same kind of thing you were just talking about with writing. You just got to get it on paper. You can't be critical of anything as you're thinking about it. You just got to put it down, and then you can go back and edit and be critical and rewrite and all that. It was the same. It was what you were talking about. You learned from watching Howl and watching the way Ginsberg learned to not think and just write, and let the real him come out on paper. No matter what, he didn't worry about what other people would think. He just wrote what he had to write, and he changed literature in a way.
I found it very informative, very helpful. Certainly taught me some things about Allen Ginsberg I did not know. I mean, I'm not saying it's this to end all great thing. In fact, some people were critical of actually trying to animate this poem.
That was my favorite
because
part.
It's like, but I found it very entertaining.
Yeah.
And it's at the Coolidge this week. Just opened yesterday, so I do recommend it. And I think I'm going to go see it again.
And I think people should listen to our interview with the directors.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
a priority.
It's one of our best interviews yet, but it's also, they do a great job of explaining what's great about the movie better than we can hear in a short little, in our little speech here.
True. Oh, I'm ready for picks of the week. I don't know if I have more than one. I mean, I guess, but I mean,
you did like 6 last time, didn't you?
4.
4. Okay.
This one is
what's your top pick?
Raging Phoenix.
What? Is this about River Phoenix?
That's another movie we haven't seen.
Is this Joaquin Phoenix's?
Yeah, I'm not here, right?
Yeah.
No, this is from the makers of Ong Bak 2 and Chocolat and Detector. Raging Phoenix, starring Zhizha Yanin, and she is amazing. It's Magnet has it now. Magnet Releasing has it released to DVD this past month, and it is super corny, but it's just truly amazing. This girl, Zhizha Yanin, is such an incredible acrobat. The fight scenes are crazy. It's about this girl in Bangkok who is kidnapped by, I guess, a good gang. She gets involved with a good gang that is trying to stop a bad gang, the Jaguars, from kidnapping these girls and selling them into prostitution.
Okay.
And it's they have this sort of, it's not a clubhouse, but it's like it's the place they go to practice and get inspiration from, and it's this sort of temple along the water. And but it makes for some very picturesque, action sequences. And so the guys who are trying to stop this other gang recruit Zhizha Jianin to help them, keep these girls, get these girls out, and stop the Jaguars. And in doing so, they train her in a certain type of, I guess, Muay Thai. And I'm not recalling what it's called at the moment, but it's like drunken Taekwondo. It's one of the fellows who kidnaps her, as she's being trained, he says to her, being drunk is the channel that transforms your pain into power. So the first time they're really training her to do this type of martial arts, they're, holding her by the neck and throwing alcohol over her and just getting her completely drunk, so she can, because the body doesn't know what to do with all the energy that alcohol, it doesn't know what to do with all this expended energy. So, you end up getting drunk. But here they channel it into fighting. So she does these fight scenes drunk in sort of a b-boy fashion. And I guess maybe it was in some way inspired by the b-boy fight that took place in Chocolat.
What's
calling it Chocolat. Oh God, and that's the Johnny Depp, Juliette Binoche, or I forget her name, film. It's just chocolate.
What's b-boy? What's b-boy? That I don't know.
It's it's as it applies to Muay Thai fighting. It's just like a b-boy, skateboarder, yo, dude, white chocolate kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm so white.
There's a fight that takes place in Chocolate where Zhizha Jianin's character, who's autistic, fights this b-boy guy in a dojo, and it's just really cool. I'll send you a link to it. It's on YouTube. Yeah. Everybody's seen it. So they've taken that, I think, to the max here, where she's doing the drunken fight / dancing kind of thing. Mm-hmm. She's the real entertaining part of this film. I mean, it's really sappy, and I can't say it's great, but it is fun.
Cool.
It is fun. There's a point in the film where she's some of the gangs, I think in particular the Jaguar gang, they get to know their opponents so well that they recognize their smells. So she's afraid that they're going to recognize her odor. And at one point, I think she says, and she was told that their odor causes the gang to do things. And she was thinking, or she had asked them, do you mean my odor causes them to become sex addicts? So there's this scene where she's walking through, I guess, Bangkok, and they have like this special effect odor coming off of her and then wafting into the other gang members' noses. So they're totally like entranced by her, like this pheromone type of. It's so bad it's good.
Okay.
Bad.
All right. What was the name of it again?
Raging Phoenix.
Raging Phoenix. Okay, my pick.
Yeah.
The ever popular Night of the Living Dead Reanimated. And what this is the studio took the soundtrack to George Romero's original Night of the Living Dead. And by soundtrack, I mean dialogue, music, everything. Just stripped all the sound and then used hundreds of different artists, animators, claymation, anime, stick figures, everything you can imagine, and they visually retold the story. And it's mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing because it's, in one way, yes, it's the same movie you know and love. Mm-hmm. But in the other thing, visually, it's so insane because I can't figure any rhyme or reason about. It's not like they, Animator 1 does the first 5 minutes and Animator 2 does 5 minutes. No, in that 1 5-minute section, there may be 20 different artists. One scene could be done 20 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So when in the opening, when they're in the cemetery, and I'm coming to get you, Barbara. Mm-hmm. It's claymation, it's graphic arts, it's animation, it's everything. But like it changes by the second. It's insane. It's almost a visual overload watching this thing, but it's so cool.
I'm intrigued.
It's really a lot of fun.
So this is new to DVD?
Yeah. It just came out. I think it was last week it came out.
Cool.
So
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely worth getting.
Man, really quickly, did you get a chance to watch Titanic 2?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't yet.
I just wanted to get your feedback on it.
Oh, you will. Believe me. You will.
Hey, I just remembered. We have a couple of CDs to give away for Jack Goes Boating. So we had a few people write in and chose a couple.
Right?
Huh?
The soundtrack of Jack.
The soundtrack to Jack Goes Boating. It's a great soundtrack. I know you had problems with the film. I liked it. I liked the soundtrack. It was terrific stuff. So we got a couple of responses to our contest, I guess you could call it, and that was to tell us which Philip Seymour Hoffman film was your favorite. And so we got a couple. And so let me read the first one here. I got permission from these guys to read their emails. Nathaniel Cresson writes, this past year I was fortunate enough to land tickets to the Celebrity Charades after party, hosted by Labyrinth Theater Company, and then artistic director Philip Seymour Hoffman. My wife and I dressed to the nines, danced and drank a bit with John Patrick Shanley, badass break dancer, John Krasinski, a giant, and Billy Crudup, Flirty McFlirt. However, we only had one real agenda. My wife has long thought of Philip Seymour Hoffman as a teddy bear. She went to the after party with the hope that she might slide up and request a cuddle and get a big old bear hug from arguably the most cuddly Oscar winner in Hollywood. For my part, I hope to congratulate him on a riveting performance in Twister, and ask if he'd been working on anything since. But Nathaniel writes, Twister is one of those movies that everyone loves to watch on a lazy TBS-filled weekend afternoon. It's defined by cheesy lines, and he offers a couple here. It's coming right for us. It's already here. Random yet awesome pop culture references, in parentheses, The Shining on screen at the drive-in, and a blissfully simplistic plot. The people like tornadoes. Tornadoes prove dangerous. Complications arise. It's a landmark film in the accomplished career of Mr. PSH, and reminds us of the brilliance that can thrive even in the most unlikely of places. So thank you, Nathaniel. You get yourself a CD of Jack Goes Boating Sound.
Good for him.
And Kelly Morris writes, so I just saw you have this contest, guys, for the soundtrack, and I'd like to enter. You posed the question, favorite PSH and movie, and I didn't even, what is it, PSH? I guess that's
Seymour Hoffman
online.
Just not hip,
PSH. Yeah. Well, I saw Jack Goes Boating last week, and I have to say it's my favorite movie so far. It's my favorite because it's finally how Philip Seymour Hoffman wanted to do it. It's his movie, his direction. I think he's the most incredible, likable, and creative and dedicated actors of our one of the most. I think he's the most incredible, likable, and creative and dedicated actors of our time. I also think he's outgrown acting, and I'm happy for him to do whatever he needs to do to keep his brain busy and happy. So directing, bring it on. His vision was beautiful, painful, realistic, human, and dedicated, like his characters always have been. So will his films. So will be his films. Thanks for the chance. So, Kelly, you'll definitely be getting a Jack Goes Boating CD.
Is that it?
That is it. That is it.
Fun.
Cool. As always, check us out online at post-movie.net and send us an email. Let us know what you think of the show. Any creative criticism would be terrific. We're at postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And write us a review on iTunes. Look us up on iTunes. We're pretty easy to find. We'd really appreciate it. I haven't looked at our iTunes account for a while, so maybe we still have that one negative review up there. Who knows? I don't know. And check us out on Facebook and I guess we don't we don't have like one of those facebook.com/post-movie or anything like that, but we're on Facebook, easy to find. And I'm on Twitter at twitter.com/stevehead. And John, we never asked you this I never asked you this at the end of the show. It's like, where can we find you online other than post-movie.net?
Where can you find, as far as like writing and stuff goes?
Yeah. Give it up.
Okay. It's, dvdaday.blogspot.com. That's my DVD a day blog. And I'm pretty good. I do a new DVD review every day. So that's the best place to find me right now.
Cool. So until next week, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
And I'm John Black.
Adios.